The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Wrestling to the Max NXT Review.
I'll take it back, what's mine, I ain't giving in to what they tell me, nah, I ain't listening. Can't deny I was made for this. Shove it back in the faces you say
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Wrestling to the Max. This is the NXT review for June 28th, 2017, and we are brought to you by W2Mnet.com as well as 411mania.com. Also, don't forget to go subscribe at Wrestling to the Max or the W2M Network, whatever suits your fancy, on whatever podcasting place you like to go search out. Plus, also, don't forget, we have a YouTube channel that you can go search out called Wrestling to the Max, and there you can find all the rest of our great content. It all streams right there, available and ready for whenever you want to view it. We are here. I am Gary Vaughan, and of course, with me is Mr. Paul Leazar.
Heyo.
And Mr. Sean Garmer.
What's up, everybody?
And tonight we got some NXT action going here. So let's go ahead and start this thing out, guys. We had a pretty crazy episode that was just because of the fact that we had such an awesome main event. But not only that, a lot of new things going on in this NXT. So we'll talk about that. So let's go ahead and kick this thing off.
All right. So you had the return of Mauro Ranallo to WWE officially with this show. They do not, I think he sort of makes a little pass at this isn't about me, it's about the performers. But they don't make a huge deal out of it. Nigel just announces that Mauro's there. Sadly, Percy Watson is still there. Someday he will just go away.
Aww.
But he just adds nothing. He adds absolutely nothing. So
does more than the Velveteen Dream.
Well, some things just can't be helped. Okay, you got two guys here, Ho Ho Lun and Velveteen Dream. I don't, which one adds more to the other. I don't know, but hey, Velveteen Dream does the Macho Man elbow. I thought he did a nice jackhammer suplex too. This was really short, here to make him look good.
I know you're not a fan, Gary, but I think it's still early for him. We've only seen squashes. He's barely done a promo. I don't know if I'm still ready to sail the boat on this guy yet. Plus, they mentioned he's 21, which I find really hard to believe. It feels like he's older, but he's got a long way to go. And he's got a long time to get there. It's not like Smokey and the Bandit here. So I agree with you on Ho Ho Lun, or Ho Ho Lun, or however you want to pronounce it. He does nothing. He didn't seem very good in the CWC. He still hasn't really wowed me. And a lot of his offense just doesn't really look all that believable.
Yeah. Oof.
No,
yeah,
he is officially 21. He will
Incredible.
be 22 August 19th.
That's disgusting. I just feel so old. But
I'm with you, buddy.
God, we're only in our early 30s here.
I know, but still.
I'm about to turn 30. I still feel old.
Yeah. God, the one thing, okay, so I do give Velveteen Dream a hard time. I really do. And it's just because I just think that the character, I'm just not a fan of it with this guy. I think Patrick has a lot of other great things he could probably find in his repertoire to really make me believe in him. And this is just really not one of them. Honestly, I love his attitude and what we saw with what he did when he was doing Tough Enough, right? That was more interesting because he was the a-hole. Everyone hated him. He was the arrogant jerk.
That was more of the character he had when he was doing that sort of Trump, being pro-Trump thing that he had for a little bit.
Yeah.
That went along with that. This is kind of weird.
Yeah, I think he kind of thought that he wanted to change things up, and that's fine. Hey, this is the time to do it. This is the place to do it. This is NXT. We got to always remember that. I have to remind myself every time we do an episode of this show. It's developmental. It's not what they're going to be doing on the main roster, probably. So just saying about him, he is young. I got to give him that credit. He is not too bad in the ring. I hate the gimmick, and I love it with Dalton Castle. To me, this doesn't fit Patrick, but that's okay.
Well, to be fair, Dalton Castle's had how many years to perfect that gimmick and make it what it is?
Yeah, that's fair too. I mean, and I'm sure there's people that hated that gimmick when he first started doing it, and maybe
There's still people that hate that gimmick.
Yeah.
I guess so. But hey, that's the way it works, and maybe I'll always hate this gimmick, and then everybody in the world will love it. Who knows? But the one thing I'll say is you got to, like Paul said, you got to give the guy some credit. You got to let him do his thing and find out what he's going to be doing. So I'm okay with that. Ho Ho Loon, I have no idea where he's going. To me, he's just a guy that's there to job out until they find that place, and I don't know if they ever will.
Paul, how do you like the finisher name? Purple Rainmaker.
Oh, I got a little bit of a chuckle, honestly. I mean, it's whatever, right? I mean, a name's just a name. We know what the real Rainmaker is. It's watching Okada spin you around and catapult your head in the third row.
Well, it's also because you can't use Purple Rain by itself. So,
trademarks and whatnot.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a big lawsuit.
Yeah, exactly. So, I could see how he's coming from the sky, whatever, it's fine, whatever. It works.
Yeah. What do you, before we go too far, you mentioned Mauro Ranallo being back. I mean, just from where you sat and this started out and everything, did you guys like Mauro? I mean, just being a part of this NXT brand, just soon, I know it's a soon analysis, but what do you think?
I think him and Nigel by themselves would be just dynamite, because Percy Watson, he kind of fit with with Tom Phillips in there. And now with Nigel and Mauro, they're so geared into what's happening in the ring, and Percy's just there sort of making comments on the side, and they add zero. At least in the other format, they were much more like, here's what's going on in the match, but this is, there's some story stuff going on here that we're also talking about, and Percy could kind of clue in on that. But this formation, this is not good for him.
For me, it's just not needed. It's not what NXT is. You don't need Percy Watson there making the snide remarks or whatever. Like, I worked with Corey Graves, and you could deal with it because, like, Corey Graves was, number one, was funny. Number two, he was on point all the time. And he gave great analysis while also making the snide remarks. Percy Watson doesn't do either one. And it's just, you have two great wrestling minds like Nigel and Mauro. This is about the action in the ring. Yes, they have story stuff in there too, no doubt. But it's much more about being a wrestling promotion. Let's be a wrestling promotion with the announcers too. So we move on here to Asuka being in her car and Nikki Cross just jumping on the car and continuously banging the windshield, and Asuka's just yelling stuff in Japanese, all pissed off. Then Nikki goes and grabs the door handle and tries to open it forcefully. They call security. They pull Nikki away. Then Asuka comes out and starts yelling at her some more in Japanese. Stuff keeps going on, and they have I love this. This feud continues to be wonderful. You will get what you wanted out of the big main match later, but man, as much I think as Ember Moon is great and all, sometimes I wonder if I understand why they're wanting Ember Moon to be the next, person, but I feel like Nikki Cross has almost earned getting to be put in Ember's place.
I mean, first off, this segment was wonderful, and as I was watching this, I just had the mental picture of Gary sitting on the couch with a couple of tears coming down his face just out of sheer joy, because I know he loves Nikki Cross to the moon and back. And to the degree, I agree with you, Sean, because Nikki Cross has been just phenomenal the entire time she's been here. And I think, I mean, we'll talk about this during the match some more, but she feels like she could, be the one that could have toppled Asuka here, right? I mean, she's become the closest, I think, out of everybody we've ever seen who, might have beaten her. And I think that does just as much without her having to win the title, so you can still have her be on the fringe of always being able to challenge along with Ember when that does come around and when Asuka leaves, which we don't know what state the women's division will be at this point with, the Mae Young Classic around the corner and all these women signing on. That division just could be, heaps and heaps of awesome by the time we get there. And, Nikki's going to have a leg up on everybody already. So I wager she'll get a chance to get a go with the belt eventually. I wouldn't count on it being this year.
Yeah, I kind of look at her the same way Paul does in the situation of she's been, honestly, a great talent. She's done a lot of things. She's been in the picture, so that's very important. But she really doesn't need it. She's one of the types that her personality is so big that, really holding the belt doesn't really do much for her. It's just a hardware. It's really all it is. It doesn't do much for her character. And Ember Moon kind of, in a way, needs that, right? She's not exactly the most vocal. She can do it, but they really haven't presented her in that way. And I think a championship belt really puts her over to that next level where Nikki Cross, it is what it is, right? To an extent, maybe you'll say the same thing about Ruby Riott. So I think that's a interesting situation, and I do, appreciate, your appreciation, Sean, of everything that Nikki Cross has done, because I do want her one day to hold a belt, even if it's not in NXT. Maybe it's in the next level. I don't know. But I just want her to do that eventually. Paul, you mentioned me on the couch and having tears watching this. I did love it too. I mean, you can't deny how great it is to see Nikki Cross jumping on a car trying to attack. Oh my God, I love that, and I was almost close to having a LaMelo Anthony moment, but I did. I almost had that moment, and I held myself back, and I was able to keep myself in check. So, but no, great segment and good stuff all around with that part.
Oh yeah. Let's quickly forget about the fact that LaMelo Ball was even on that Raw.
I can't remember his name. Who's LaMelo Anthony? I just called up.
You're thinking of Carmelo Anthony. Probably.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been listening to the NBA trade moves all day long, so forgive me.
See,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Gary was just waiting for that next Houston Rocket move.
Yeah, my God, those guys all day long. Anyway.
Anyway, y'all were mentioning the thing with Nikki Cross. I think she is right up Kevin Dunn's alley. She's crazy, so of course she's going to do stuff on the main roster. That's what Kevin Dunn loves. Women are crazy. Let's have a crazy character. Hopefully, that he is probably can't wait for her to show up on the main roster.
Oh, I can't. I hope she shows up on whatever roster the Bellas are on. Oh, yes, do it now.
Yes, that would be amazing. Please do. She needs to just be like invading their YouTube videos all the time.
Yeah. Oof. Very awesome.
So we get Authors of Pain and Heavy Machinery being in Regal's office. And he says that Heavy Machinery are getting a title shot against Authors of Pain in 2 weeks. So, yay, Heavy Machinery, you get a title shot.
And I want to be excited about this. I really do. But like I've told Paul in the past, this is something that I love and I hate because of the fact that we all know that Heavy Machinery is not taking the belts off the Authors of Pain. It doesn't make any sense. It's too early. I appreciate that they're getting the opportunity, but I'm looking at this as a situation where they're going to come out of this not really looking so grand, and I don't like that because these guys could really be built to something super special. if they get close to winning the titles, I think that will make them look good. But I don't know how much they're willing to give to these guys at this point in their time with NXT. I'm just worried. I guess I should say it that way.
First off, this segment was a little off for me, and you know, the thing that really brought it home for me, at least, was seeing Regal has the brass knuckles on his desk on this like pedestal of honor, which just made me laugh every time I looked over that direction. But the Authors of Pain and Heavy Machinery here, Heavy Machinery talking just felt wrong. Like they didn't really like listening to Otis talk and then Tucker, like it didn't feel like it fit. You know, they should be talking, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. Like it doesn't feel right. But then again, I'm excited for the tag team title match. I think they'll do right by them by at least letting them get close. So I wouldn't be too worried about that because they only have so many teams and they gain nothing by having them look weak, losing to the Authors here. So I don't know if we should expect good stuff, but it'll be big guys doing big guy things, and that's always cool.
No, it's cool. It's hard for me, you know, to imagine them to put these guys to another level. Because I think the NXT crowd, as much as they give them love, I'm just so fearful that they're going to fall out of love with them if they see them, you know, take a little bit more hits than they should when it comes to losing matches and things like that. But who knows? Also, really quickly, on the, you know, Regal's desk, he should also have that tool belt. I think that's also something that would be important to that.
Yes.
Hard hat hanging on a hat rack behind him, too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like some kind of instrumental version of the Real Man playing. When he walks in. That'd be
glorious.
That's great. So, after this, we have Hideo Itami and Orney Lorcan as they can't even get the match started because Itami winds up with a busted nose due to Orney Lorcan just hitting a big uppercut and chops to him. They actually have to stop the match. He really did bust his nose. This was I think I saw a bunch of jokes during the taping on Twitter of, dude, this guy just cannot not get hurt in some fashion. But, you know, credit to him, he comes back. They have another short match here where Itami's basically trying to get the GTS on Lorcan quite a few times. Itami just even shoves Lorcan on the floor because, you know, this dude is pissed off. And, yeah, he eventually does hit that GTS and wins. And then he wants Cassius Ohno to come out. But that's interrupted by Sanity. Alexander Wolf, I thought, actually cut a pretty decent promo about Eric Young and having a master plan, and that you know, they're gonna just keep taking away all these contrived tag teams, or like these tag teams that are like being forced upon us. And then they just attack Ohno and Itami. So next week we're gonna have Itami and Ohno against Wolf and Killian Dane.
I love this start to finish, even though the nose break was clearly accidental. It just added so much to this because Hideo absolutely murdered Oni last time, and seeing him shed his blood and all that, like it helped make this feel like it was that next level. Like Lorcan really came out looking to prove something, and then Hideo obviously wasn't playing any sort of that kind of shit the second time around and just murders him for his troubles. But I loved that whole bit beginning to end, and then having Itami and Ohno sort of being still at odds, but now having to team up against Sanity seemingly might just be the nice push that you need to get Itami over the edge to turn full heel, because they keep sort of reneging on it a little bit here and there. So I enjoyed this whole piece of business start to finish.
Yeah, it's a nice little combo platter here, right? Because the beginning of this, I mean, you do get that first blood, and you know, you're thinking, oh, that's intense, and you really, honestly, for a minute there, I thought they were going to move on to something else, and I thought that was maybe been planned on purpose. But you know, maybe not. But the important thing is that you finally do get the match, and it's not too bad. And Hideo Itami comes out looking really strong, and you know, I guess you'd even have to give Orney Lorcan some love, too, for the fact that he came out himself and showed that he's not anyone to play with. So I appreciate both those guys getting some time here and looking good. Hideo Itami's on that mission to getting back to where he thinks he should be in NXT. And then, of course, calling down Cassius Ohno and started that whole thing up with Sanity because they decided to attack him. It's a good mixture here, right? So you get it in one part of the story, then you go to something else that's new, and I like that. I think it's great to have some progression here. And it would be kind of, honestly, a little bit boring if it's Hideo Itami and Cassius Ohno sitting there chatting about, oh, we know we lose, but we win, and then we may lose. That's way better having, some guys attack them and forcing these guys to be a tag team. And if Paul's, thought process of, hey, this gives Hideo Itami an upper hand later down the line of being able to turn heel on Cassius, I love that thought process. I think it would make Hideo Itami even better. So that's something good to look forward to. Did y'all think that Alexander Wolf, the way that he presented himself, I liked what he brought to the table. I like the fact he addressed that Eric Young is not there for a reason, and the fact that they're going to continue on in their mission. But I think he's just creepy enough on the mic that he kind of works with Sanity. I wasn't sure what to think, but I think he did a pretty decent job.
I didn't mind his promo work. I thought his voice didn't really match up with the character at times, and he had to, sort of sink back to dropping his voice a couple of octaves. But I don't like him. Sort of like he seems way more off the wall. I think this is the first time we've really heard him talk, and he just seems very much off the wall, which works, right? And he's the loyal follower, and then Killian Dane getting the one word, being the heavy guy, worked perfectly for me.
Mm-hmm.
I can just envision Eric Young with a lab coat, with that long beard, going with the master plan.
I was imagining blueprints and sitting there thinking about it in Canada, what should we do next?
How can we kill Cassius Ohno and Hideo Itami some more?
You think they do that kind of lab work in Canada? They seem like such nice people up there.
Yeah,
you never know. It could be happening.
It's true. The Hart family was a pretty sweet family, but they also tortured a few folks, so,
I guess that's true. In their basement, which has a very serial killer vibe to it.
Yeah. With just a mat.
Yeah.
And after watching that Kevin Smith movie, I'm afraid to go up there now with the walrus stuff going on, so...
I also we should give more love to Orney Lorcan, a guy that he comes in, seems very vanilla when he comes in. He's really adapted to NXT extremely well, and the fans like him and everything. I didn't think too much of him when he was coming in. I was like, oh, okay, here's a guy that's going to have as a good hand and whatever, and he's really done well for himself.
No, he really has, and I kind of put him in that place of, being the next guy to have, a lot of fan favoritism, and everybody's rooting for him, and kind of like we saw with the Perfect 10, right? I mean, everybody loved him. Everybody thought a lot of him in NXT, and he finally got his opportunity. I think Orney Lorcan's kind of taken his spot to an extent.
The way they've brought Oni in and used him has really reminded me of the early days of Sami Zayn in NXT, where he would just show up and have these really great matches and keep on losing. And the fans just sort of kept on taking to him every time he came out there. And we're seeing that again with Oni here. So that's more what this reminds me of for sure. Just with a more... he has the old school grappler look down, and they play that up very well, I think.
Oh, yeah, certainly. He just looks like he should be... Him and Cesaro should be a team.
Exactly.
So, all right, without further delay, let's get to the main reason that we are talking about this show this evening. This NXT Women's Championship Last Woman Standing match with Asuka and Nikki Cross. And my goodness, do they just do everything? A lot of things that I think we have never seen in NXT, like using a trash can. And bringing in a pile of chairs and slamming someone onto a pile of chairs. And, of course, the huge spot with the that leads to the finish with the ladder being by the announce table, superplex off the ladder. Asuka gets up like at 9.5 and wins. Just amazing stuff here. Great match. What you wanted from the two. I don't know if you could ask anymore.
I mean, if you did, they might have died. So
Yeah.
probably best that we don't. And there's some of these spots are getting close to the reckless territory almost too, which I kind of we see often when we talk about Dragon Lee or Mr. Hiromu. Yeah, and the the sunset flip bomb that Nikki Cross does on Asuka into the pile of chairs. Asuka's head bounces off the corner of the freaking entry ramp, which just looks way more painful than any way she landed throughout the entire match. You have all sorts of other delightful spots, and they really went for the chairs pretty often in this, which I enjoyed because you don't see enough of that anymore. But everything else in this was absolutely wonderful. And to really send it home at the end, whenever Nikki's looking up at Asuka on the ramp, they're both laughing and smiling at each other like they just had the time of their fucking lives, which is just brilliant.
They're both crazy enough that you can believe it too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's great about those gals. I mean, they really do bring that whole we're tough, but we're also a little bit insane. And that brings so much to it. That's why they can have these type of matches, and people, not only just love it, but they believe it. They believe in the war. They understand it, and that's what's so great about this whole thing and the way that they portrayed it. They've done a great job to build to it, and then actually having this take place makes all the sense in the world. It would make no sense if most of it was in the ring. It'd make no sense if they just used one weapon, a kendo stick or something like that, and there you go. That's it. No, this is kind of what we expected and what we needed out of this. So I think they did a wonderful job. And of course, with that little ending with him smiling, I mean, it's amazing. Kind of goes back to what you saw at the end of the first Batman movie in 1988, 89, right, where the Joker's smiling as he's laying there dead. It's kind of like that, right? It's just it makes sense to be smiling.
Yeah, it absolutely does, especially for Asuka, because every time, somebody goes to challenge her, they think that they're going to beat her, and then she just winds up continually winning. And so she's laughing once again at the, you thought you could beat me. Mm-hmm. Here I am again,
Do you think it won't affect them, but do you think Sanity is even going to talk about this? Because of the fact that, Wolf said, this is the first moment that we're going to be showing our plan, and then that didn't go well. So it's like something again, that Sanity doesn't get done when they say they're going to get done. It sounds really familiar to another faction we used to have in NXT. Oh, boy. I just kind of hate that stuff.
I don't know if they will, because they've done... They kind of keep them talking about each other's feuds separate, right? Except for the brief intergender 8-person tag match they had at one of the takeovers this year. So I don't know. They might. But I think the important part here maybe should be more about considering what to do with Nikki. I mean, we've seen Ember take Asuka to the limit, and now we've seen Nikki do it. So... I don't know what you do. You have two great choices on their hands, and I wouldn't want to be them trying to figure out where to go with the belt.
Yeah, that's true. It's going to be tough. It really will be.
But all right, that's NXT for this week.
All right, guys. Yeah, and really interesting and kind of a new look with NXT, especially that new theme music that we'll be debuting. We haven't put that together just quite yet, but that new theme music was kind of interesting starting out the show. You got Mauro Ranallo joining the NXT crew, plus a lot of these big feuds are starting to really heat up even more. So there you go.
I feel like they just changed the theme music.
I know. That was a shock to me. It really was. So, I don't know. I kind of like the other one better, to be honest with you. This one's okay, but the other one was kind of cool. But yeah, anyway, we're not talking theme music. We're going to be talking about getting out of this show because we have some other great content to share with the people. Make sure you go check out a Wrestling to the Max episode 253 part 2. We'll be recording right after we do this. That's also going to include a lot of great stuff. We'll be kind of talking about some Slammiversary. I know we don't cover TNA a lot on the show, but we're going to be talking Slammiversary a little bit. We'll also be giving you 2 doses of Lucha Underground and a lot more. Just to let everybody know, make sure you go check us out on wherever you get your podcast. Go subscribe to Wrestling to the Max or the W2M Network. Also, you can always find us at W2Mnet.com or 411mania.com. Those are the places you go search us out, as well as YouTube. So I want to say thank you, guys. I am Gary Vaughan. He is Sean Garmer and Paul Leazar, and we will see you guys later.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.